Hello, this is Ernest Burley, your CIA, your cool insurance agent, back at you again with some more great information on insurance. I'm a licensed insurance agent with over 30 years experience in the industry, and I have clients all across the country in various arenas of insurance, whether it be disability or life insurance or what have you. My specialties include all areas of insurance, really: auto insurance, life insurance, long-term care, disability, homeowners insurance, church policies, business policies, whatever type of insurance that you have a question about or have a need for, my firm can help you out in that arena. The purpose of this podcast is to educate you, to empower you, to enlighten you with objective and unbiased information so you can make the right decisions for yourself and for your family. It's all about giving you the right information because there's so much crazy information out there. I want you to have the right information so you can make good decisions that don't put you at a disadvantage. I want to put you at an advantage, okay? So that's it for my intro. Let's get at it. The topic for today's podcast is beware and be aware, fixed annuities. So beware and also be aware, fixed annuities. Now we're going to talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages, the pros and the cons of fixed annuities. Now, if I were to venture to say whether annuities are for most people or not, I would venture to say they are not for most people. Yeah, annuities are not for most people. Fixed annuities are not for most people. So, and we'll talk about, the reasoning behind that. Now, they are for some people. So now I'm not anti-annuity because I have millions of dollars of clients' money in annuity products, right? But it's for the right situation. It's for the right client, for the right situation. So before I think about an annuity for a client, I always look at how much cash do they have on hand? What's the size of their overall portfolio? What is their income? Okay, what are their expenses? What are their goals? All of those things should come into play and figure out, okay, well, is this a good situation for the client? Should they have an annuity, a fixed annuity or not, right? But if you're not asking those types of questions and looking out for the best interest of the client, then it's not a good thing. And I'm going to express some reasons, some sentiments behind that in a few minutes. An annuity is a long-term contract, okay? Long-term relationship. So you don't just jump into something and it's a long-term relationship. You want to make sure you have vetted it and you've made sure that it is the right situation for you. Because if you jump into something that's long-term and you're miserable the whole time, that's not a good situation to be in. So here's what I'd recommend. Before you get into an annuity product, when you're talking to somebody, you want to make sure that they are singing from the choir or they're in the choir. And by choir, it's an acronym, CHOIR. Very important. I don't know if I've gone over this in a previous podcast. I think I have this to come up in a future podcast, but I'm going to give you a little cheat sheet right now. Okay, so the choir, you want to make sure the C in choir, that they are certified or credentialed, someone who has certifications and credentials to speak about fixed annuities. The H in choir stands for hours of experience. How long have they been doing it? Okay. The O in choir is objectivity. You want to make sure they're objective, and that's like huge. I don't want to put one letter over the other, but objectivity is very important here because if all they do is write annuities and life insurance, and you come to them with $1 million or $100,000, they're going to find a way to rationalize or justify why all of that money should be in annuities. So you want the person to be objective and to be able to take a look at everything and see if this really fits you. The I in choir stands for independent. So that's another thing. You want them to be independent because if the annuity seems like a viable option for you, you want that person to be able to search, because there are a lot of annuity companies out there. There are a ton of life insurance companies that offer annuities. So you want them to find the best fixed annuity for you based on your situation. And the R in choir stands for regulated. So of course you want them to be regulated. If they're offering you a fixed annuity, they should have some type of insurance license and be regulated by the state. Okay, so that's it. Choir, CHOIR. Make sure that person is singing from the choir. Okay, so we're going to go over some of the advantages and the disadvantages of fixed annuities. So let's start out with the be aware part, some of the advantages of fixed annuity. So here's one thing you want to be aware of: principal protection. So your money is pretty much safe with a fixed annuity. Now, is backed by the financial strength of the life insurance company that backs or underwrites that annuity. So you want to make sure that company is financially stable. So you're relying on the stability of that life insurance company regarding your money. So I look at these things when I'm looking at the fixed annuity for a client. I take a look at the financial strength of the company. I want to look at, and they got to be A-rated or better by AM Best before me to for me to even consider them for a client. The history, I want them to have been in business for an extended period of time. The reputation of that life insurance company that's offering the annuity, that's important to me. And also the rates that they're offering. So the rates that they're offering to increase the client's money. So I look at those main features when I'm taking a look at fixed annuities for clients, okay? So that's one advantage. Number one, principal protection. Another advantage, number two, gains only, no losses. So you can't lose money in the annuity because it's not attached to the stock market. So it doesn't matter what's going on in the stock market. Your money is safe and stable and secure in this fixed annuity product. So that's another advantage. That's another good thing that people like about fixed annuities. Also, the growth in the fixed annuity is tax deferred. So if you make $1,000 or $500 or $2,000 in a particular year, you're not taxed on it. It just rolls over to the following year and adds to the value of your fixed annuity. So that's another advantage. That's like 2 and 3, right? So 1 is principal protection, 2, gains, no losses, right? And number 3 kind of sort of is tax deferred growth. Number 4, lifetime income. So that's a pro for a lot of people, that they can receive a lifetime income from the annuity, the fixed annuity product. Now, here's a caveat. That lifetime income is not as big and glorious as you think, right? It's normally 5 or 6% of the total amount, right? So if you have a $100,000 annuity, that lifetime income is probably going to be 5 to 6% of that per year. And it's based on your age as to what percentage you're going to get. So if you have $100,000, 5% of that is $5,000 per year, which is about 400 something bucks per month, right? So it's not a huge check, right? Now, if you have $1 million that you put into an annuity, and that's 5% a year, that's $50,000. That's over $4,000 per month. So yeah, the larger amount, larger lifetime income. But think about that, okay? That's what it is. It's a small percentage of the total amount. Okay, so those are some of the things to be aware of. Those are some of the pros of fixed annuities. Now, let's take a look at the beware, beware of fixed annuities. First thing is low returns. Fixed annuities don't normally have very low returns. Normally somewhere between 3 to 4% a year is what the average return is going to be on a fixed annuity. So if you're planning on like some really big growth or some potential growth, fixed annuities aren't the way to go. Now, if a person is more concerned about the security of their money, maybe they're not really concerned about having a lot of growth, and that's okay. Okay. So that's point number 1 under the cons or to disadvantages or the beware of fixed annuities. Here's point number 2 under the beware of fixed annuities. You have limited access to your money. And that's a big one for a lot of people. So if you have a 5-year annuity or a 10-year annuity, that means you can't touch your money for that period of time. If it's 5 years, you can't touch it for 5 years. Or if it's 10 years, you can't touch that money for that period of time. Now, most companies have like a little safety valve where you can access up to 10% of it per year without a penalty. But if you access more than 10% of that money in any particular year, you're going to suffer what's called a surrender charge penalty. And that penalty starts out normally at 10% during that first year, and then 9%, 8%, and goes down as the annuity gets further and further down the line. It gets closer to your end date, right? 5 years or 10 years. But that's a big sticking point for a lot of people. I had one client, she was sitting in her accountant's office, and he called me because this guy was really pressuring her to put her money in annuity. And I just asked 2 simple questions when someone is thinking about what to do regarding a fixed annuity. So I said, hey, okay, how important is stability and security of your money to you? She was older, so she said, yeah, that's pretty important versus growth. So I asked whether security or growth, which one is, more that you're looking at. And she was more on the side of security versus growth, but she still wanted growth. Now, most people still want growth in their money. Now, the second question I ask is, okay, well, how important is access to your money? She said, that's very important. I always want access to my money. Well, that knocked the annuity right out of the box, right? Right out of the box. And that normally knocks the annuity out of the box for a lot of people because most people want access to their money. So, and I'll give you an example. I took care of her, and the following year, she did need to access that money, and she needed more than 10% of that money because she needed to make some repairs to her home. Now, if she'd have gotten into that annuity, she would have been penalized for any amount that she took out that was more than 10% of that annuity. That would have not been good for her. She would have been pretty upset about that. And guess what? The guy was also trying to talk her into a 15-year annuity. If you're going to get an annuity, do not get an annuity that's more than 10 years. Okay, that should be the longest you want to have your money locked up into any fixed annuity product. So please, please, please do not go beyond 10 years with a fixed annuity. All right, very important. Also, annuitizing. Do not annuitize an annuity. You can get income for life or take withdrawals or take income, but don't annuitize it, because once you annuitize it, you can't unannuitize it. And when you annuitize it, you limit your access to the total amount of money. So if you annuitize it, you say, oh, I'm going to get $1,000 a month or $500 a month or $2,000 a month or whatever. That means you're not touching the rest of the money. You're just taking that amount per month and you're locked into that. You don't want to do that. Okay, you can take withdrawals or set up an income situation, but don't lock yourself into annuitizing an annuity. Okay. Point number 3 regarding the beware of fixed annuities, possible fees. Now, fixed annuities aren't attached to the market. They're not managed or anything. So they don't normally have fees, a basic fixed annuity. But if you add riders to the fixed annuity, then that's when you get into the fee situation. So I'm not a big fan of riders, right? So I'm just not a big fan of riders. I'll just leave it like that. Now, the next point, you can put a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA in a fixed annuity. Now, there are no additional tax advantages, right? So with the IRA, you have tax deferred growth in an IRA. It's the same thing in an annuity. You don't get like double tax deferred growth. So there are no additional tax advantages for placing an IRA into an annuity. Please just understand that. And that's it. That's it. That's all I wanted to talk about with fixed annuities. I just want you to seriously look at the viability of placing any funds in a fixed annuity versus other viable options. What makes the most sense for you based on the features that I just mentioned? And I'm just going to go over them real quick because this is a really quick podcast. So some of the pros, some of the things you want to say, okay, well, we want to be aware of fixed annuities. Principal protection, so you can protect your principal. That's point number 1. It's based on the financial strength of the life insurance company that backs that annuity, though, right? It's based on that financial strength of the life insurance company. So principal protection, there are only gains, no losses. There's tax deferred growth in annuities. Okay. Also, you can have lifetime income that you set up with the annuities, but we have that caveat that we know is a small percentage, like 5 or 6% of the total amount that you'll get per year. It's not like some huge amount unless you have a huge amount in the annuity. Okay, so a lot of people think income for life, they're just thinking a large number for some reason. But in order to get a large amount of income for life, you have to have a large amount like locked up into that annuity product. And it's normally 5 to 6% of the total amount that you will get as far as income is concerned. So those are some of the pros, some things to be aware of. Here are some of the cons or disadvantages that you want to beware of. The low return. Not going to make that much return in these products, okay? These fixed annuities, 3 to 4% a year, that's going to be the average. The limited access to your money. You can't get any more than 10% of that money per year without being penalized. That's a big no-no for a lot of people. And just make sure you don't get yourself into an annuity that's more than 10 years. That's the longest I recommend for an annuity period. And don't annuitize. We talked about that also. Don't annuitize an annuity. You can get income for life or set up withdrawals and things of that nature. Possible fees. I'm not big on the riders that they add to the fixed annuity. So hopefully you don't have any fee situation there. And like I said before, you can put a traditional IRA or Roth IRA into a fixed annuity, but there are no additional tax advantages. So that's it. Beware of annuities and be aware of annuities. They are not for most people. Okay, so let's do our recap. Our recap is to beware of annuities and to be aware of annuities because they do have advantages and disadvantages. My takeaway is fixed annuities are not for most people. And the big reason why they're not, 2 big reasons, is because of the limited access to the money and also the low returns on the money. Those are 2 things that normally knock it out the box, but that limited access, that's knocked it really out the box for a lot of people. So I want to thank you all for listening to this podcast today. I really appreciate it. Please spread this podcast to others so they can do it, so on and so on and so on. I thank y'all so much for listening to the podcast, and I appreciate you so much. If you want to connect with me, my connect is easy. You can call me at 301-262-2600. Again, that's 301-262-2600. That's the number to my firm. Or you can email me at ernestburleyjr@gmail.com. That's my full name, ERNESTBURLEYJR@gmail.com. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. Okay. Now, all of my podcasts are available on YouTube. So you can go to YouTube and pull it up. I have a lot of podcasts on there. I have some 1-minute segments on there talking about various areas of insurance too. So go to YouTube and check out my podcast. Hey, until we speak next time, this is Ernest Burley, your CIA, your cool insurance agent, signing off. Y'all take care and be safe out there, okay?